afternoon, and thank you everyone for joining the NeedyMeds special topic webinar, Education, Support, and Advocacy for Crohn's and Colitis, how the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America, or CCFA, can help. Before we get started, I'm going to go over a few housekeeping tips and introduce myself. My name is Carla, and I am the Education Coordinator here at NeedyMeds. As we go through the webinar, you can feel free to type any questions you may have into the questions section of the GoToWebinar control panel, which you're going to want to keep on your desktop. But keep in mind, we will reserve answering questions until the end of the webinar. If we don't have time to answer your question, we will follow up with you personally via email after the webinar concludes. This webinar will be recorded and will be available for viewing on the NeedyMeds YouTube page soon. We're also happy to email you a copy of the PowerPoint presentation after the webinar for your records or to share with your friends, family, and colleagues. So for those of you who are not familiar with NeedyMeds, we are a national nonprofit organization, and as you can see on that PowerPoint slide, our mission is focused on educating and empowering those seeking affordable health care. And we do that through three primary ways: by providing information on healthcare programs, by offering direct assistance, and by facilitating programs through our website and toll-free helpline. One of the most important ways that we also fulfill educating people, which as you can see is right in our mission statement, is by partnering with other nonprofit organizations to help spread the good work that they do, and also reach out to a population of people that need particular assistance focused around particular diagnoses. With that in mind, it is my pleasure to introduce our panelists today. Jacqueline Spencer, who will be, I believe, conducting the first part of today's webinar, is the Manager of Education Resources at CCFA. And in addition to developing educational publications for patients with IBD, she is also an information specialist for the Irwin M. and Suzanne R. Rosenthal IBD Health Center, answering questions and offering support to patients and their families across the country. The other panelist we're thrilled to have joining us today is Catherine A. Soto. Catherine is the National Manager of Education Programs for CCFA. She has been at the Foundation for 3 years, working to develop web-based educational programs for patients with IBD, or inflammatory bowel diseases. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to go ahead and pass the mic, as well as the screen, over to Jacqueline and Catherine, so they can get started sharing their expertise on this diagnosis. So if everybody will bear with me while we transition.
Thank you, Carla. This is Jacqueline. So I'm going to start by just welcoming everyone and just going over what our objectives of the presentation. So first, we're going to provide basic information about inflammatory bowel disease, often referred to as IBD. And then we're also going to provide an overview of CCFA education and support programs for patients and their families. So what is inflammatory bowel disease? So IBD is a chronic disease that causes inflammation in the gastrointestinal tract. There are 4 categories of the disease: Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, microscopic colitis, and indeterminate colitis. Crohn's disease is a chronic disease that causes inflammation in the digestive tract or gastrointestinal tract. It can involve any area of the GI tract, beginning at the mouth and ending at the anus, but it commonly affects the small intestine and/or colon. Some of the symptoms associated with Crohn's disease include persistent diarrhea, abdominal pain, rectal bleeding, loss of appetite, fatigue, and fever. Not every person has every symptom, and not all the symptoms have been listed. The second type of disease is called ulcerative colitis, and this is a chronic disease of the colon or the large intestine. It's marked by inflammation and ulcers of the colon or the innermost lining of the intestine. Some of the symptoms include diarrhea, mucus in the stool, bloody stools, bowel urgency, abdominal pain, loss of appetite, and fatigue. Not every person will experience all of these symptoms, and not every symptom is listed. Other types of IBD that you may have heard of are called microscopic colitis and indeterminate colitis. The two types of microscopic colitis include collagenous colitis and lymphocytic colitis. Indeterminate colitis, there are about 10 to 15% of cases in which there's a difficulty in that distinguishing between ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. And the symptoms are very similar to UC and Crohn's disease. What causes IBD? So researchers believe that there are three things that contribute to or cause IBD. First, there's a genetic link. So this tends to run in families. Then there's an immune system disturbance. The person's immune system is not operating correctly. And then the third thing is that there is an environmental trigger. Something in the environment caused the person's immune system to come on, and then that immune system did not turn off. Diagnosing and monitoring IBD consists of a number of tests. The test that's needed for your particular case would be determined by your healthcare provider. Some of the tests include things like colonoscopies, x-rays, CAT scans, and blood and stool tests. Again, your doctor would determine which test is best for your particular case. Not every person would require every test listed. So the bad news is that there's no cure for Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, but there are effective treatments that help reduce the disease symptoms as well as help to improve or reduce intestinal inflammation. Treatment usually is in 5 categories: aminosalicylates, or 5-ASAs, corticosteroids, or steroids, immunomodulators, antibiotics, and biologic therapies. The treatment most appropriate for you is individualized. Not every patient will use or have to take the same medication. Other continuing treatment options include surgery. So when treatment with medication does not work, your doctor may decide that you might need surgery. The type of surgery that you might require is different for each person. Surgery can help restore the quality of life of a patient, which will help the medication to work better. Again, surgery is different for each individual person. And then finally, one of the things that's also important is diet and lifestyle changes. So if surgery, medication, combined with diet and lifestyle changes, those things can help to improve the life of a person with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. We do have a IBD Help Center. Through the IBD Help Center, we're able to answer disease-specific questions. Also talk with you about support and education programs. You can reach the IBD Help Center Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we also have a live chat feature. Some people prefer an online chat, so we can answer questions via a live chat. Again, you can reach us at 694-8872. And now Catherine Soto will provide some information regarding some of our educational and support programs.
Thank you, Jackie. And Jackie failed to mention or remind you guys that she is one of the friendly faces and voices that you will hear on the other line at the Health Center, and offering a friendly voice and helpful information. And some of the resources I'll go through include some of the things that the IBD Health Center may direct you to. At any point, if there's more information you're searching for regarding these resources, I really encourage everyone to, again, contact the IBD Health Center, and we'll be able to provide and offer some more information. So some of those things include educational brochures, webcasts, online support programs, social media programs, support groups, and other kinds of support connections, and Camp Oasis, among other things I will go through. Brochures and fact sheets are a really great resource we have available. We have over 46 publications. They're available both online and in print, so just before a doctor's visit, if there's some kind of question or some information you're searching for, or even afterwards if you have more questions, these are really great resources to refer to, and you can access them on our website. Some of the popular topics we have brochures and publications on are listed here on the screen, but you'll see they're very disease specific, and so we have one on Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, medications, diet and nutrition, managing flares, and surgery, among others. Webcasts and videos. So you're all part of this really great webcast put together by NeedyMeds, and we're so excited to be partnering about that on this. And CCFA also offers some educational webcasts on various topics in IBD. Some of the most common ones, or some of the most popular ones we offer, include summaries on treatments, IBD 101s, so very disease specific. We will offer one webinar on Crohn's disease, another one on ulcerative colitis. Nutrition information, that will offer kind of like the link and research-based nutrition information, what some of the studies are relating nutrition with IBD, and some ongoing research around that. We have a webinar, some of the more recently released ones, on colorectal cancer. IBD patients have an increased risk of colorectal cancer, but there are really great ways to minimize your risk. And so this is a great webinar to watch if you want to learn ways to really minimize that. So I encourage everyone to view that webinar. It's very important. And biosimilars. Biosimilars have been newly introduced into the IBD space. There's a webinar kind of highlighting everything you need to know about biosimilars. They are biologic therapies that are highly similar to particular biologic therapies. And updates in research, and this runs the gamut from genetics, microbiome, all kinds of research that we have available, any updates we have. We do an annual notice to all patients about research. We also have helpful short videos. We know that not everyone can sit down for a whole hour and watch some of these resources and webinars, so we do have very short clips that give you the basic information, maybe in 2-3 minutes tops, of what you should know about certain topics in IBD. And we encourage you to visit our YouTube channel for some of the most recent released videos. The CCFA community website is a really great online community for patients and caregivers to connect with one another and get and offer support in managing IBD. There are discussion forums, and patients are able to offer their story and create a login to do that. There's online support groups for patients. We're also in the midst of getting ready to release a caregiver support group. And we also have an Ask the Expert feature. This is great if you have a question about IBD. There's a panel of experts that go in and answer your questions, so it's a really great resource for that. And a searchable library of all previously answered expert questions. Sometimes there's a question that someone's asked that maybe you've never thought of before. This is a really great place to look for kind of just a hub of information from a community of patients. Some customized IBD education can be found here through what's called the IBD Knowledge Navigator. And it's, again, disease-specific information on select topics. So in order to go to or be a part of community website, you can visit it on the link shown here, www.ccfacommunity.org. And you can sign in, create a login, register, and really just start taking advantage of the great resource we have available. I'll Be Determined is a website that is very interactive. It's designed to help patients really take a closer look at how they're living with IBD and get encouragement and help you learn about IBD management choices. In this website, you can navigate through 5 decision journeys, and they are listed here below. What's great about this website is not only can you get inspiration from other people who have really taken IBD and learned some management skills and learn how to cope, learn how to live and tackle some of these topics. But you're also able to educate yourself on some very important things that are offered on what you'll see a snapshot of these different topics. So the users of this website can view and share thoughts about IBD and the choices being made to take charge of managing their disease. And to get access to this website, you'll see the link listed there on the screen. GI Buddy is very similar to the I'll Be Determined website. It is mobile-based, so people can access this through their phones, through their smartphones. And it is a disease management tool and helps you track symptoms, treatment, diet, and lifestyle factors. It kind of helps plot things for you. It's a really great resource to kind of check in before your doctor visits, let them know how you're doing. Look, doctor, these are the number of bowel movements I've had in any given period. These are the symptom changes. So it's a really great resource, and it provides a report and patient history and patterns specific to you. So this is a really great thing to take advantage of. It's accessible, again, as I said, online, and you can download it as an iPhone or Android app on the go. Social media education programs, and actually Jackie is also one of the key leads on our Facebook Live program. We also have tweet chats, and what these social media programs do is use a panel or an expert on a specific topic and speaking to our patients, and patients are able to pose questions, interact with one another, interact with the expert physician, and we have different topics either monthly or every certain time, quarterly. You'll see announcements on our social media pages on how often these programs and when they're going to be hosted. We just recently had a great Facebook Live program featuring our CEO, Mike Loso, who gave announcements and updates on the CCFA. And we're really excited that this is a really great way to touch and reach to our patient audience of patients and caregivers. So if you ever want to follow us, the information is listed on the screen. Support groups and power of 2. In general, support is really important for IBD patients. You may be going through a tough time, or you may be a caregiver that just needs to hear from another patient, or just to hear from others that are going through something that you're going through. And CCFA does offer local support groups. We have more than 200 support groups across the country where patients and family members can connect, share stories, seek emotional support. These support groups are led by trained facilitators. We have our trained volunteers out in the field doing this. And you can contact your local CCFA chapter if you'd like to apply to become a support group facilitator, or even if you'd like to just connect to a local support group in your area, you can connect with us through the webpage listed, and we can get you the information you need. The Power of 2 program is meant to be kind of a virtual connection with another person that may have similar experiences as you and can offer some encouragement or some support that way. And that information and that program is also accessible through the link provided below. Camp Oasis is a wonderful, and I can't stress the word fun place for learning, playing, and healing. It's a residential summer camp for children with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, and it provides them really a safe and supportive camp community. We offer several camp sessions throughout the summer months, and there are various camps located across the country. If you want more information, know of someone that may be interested in attending Camp Oasis, a child, please share or visit the link that you see on the screen here for more information. We do offer some scholarships available for families that are in need. And very importantly, be an advocate. Being an advocate is really, sharing your story however you can, encouraging others, but also there's being an advocate in legislation and encouraging your legislators to support some of the things that CCFA sees as a priority for the patient community in general. Some of the things you can do today and to take action and be an advocate. You can sign up for the Advocacy Network. If you sign up for the Advocacy Network, it allows you to obtain updates from CCFA on key legislations that have been released or any actions that we're taking as an organization that you can be a part of. It's a really great way to stay updated on that. You're able to email your legislators as well. There's a nice form that we have where you can connect through a template that you can customize and send emails to your legislators based on your zip codes. You can also read our advocacy toolkit. It talks about how to be an advocate and some of the things that CCFA volunteers and other advocates have done to help inspire the community. As an advocate, we have in the past called for increased federal funding for Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis research and awareness programs that improve the lives of patients. We encourage our members, volunteers, and friends to be actively engaged in public policy. It really creates a movement that is so empowering. You can, as I mentioned, share your personal stories and inform and inspire elected representatives in Congress to support the cause. So if you want to be an advocate, everyone can be an advocate, but you can sign up today by visiting the link provided. And I just wanted to share the disclaimer that the CCFA provides information for educational purposes only. We do not offer medical opinions, and we encourage everyone to talk to their healthcare providers for decisions around their care. And that concludes our portion of the presentation. And Carla, I'm going to hand it over to you for the question and answer session.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And when you're ready, you can just give me control as well. I've got the mic back, and you can pass over the screen to me when you get a moment. And in the meantime, I will thank you, Catherine and Jackie, for putting on this very robust and informative webinar. A few things that really struck me the most. I really appreciated the way you broke up the webinar between the diagnoses related information and then how people can become well informed and advocate for themselves. I particularly liked, I found particularly helpful. So I did appreciate not only the way you split up the webinar, but the details included when you talked about each portion, whether it was related to the diagnosis or the educational resources. In particular, Jackie, when you mentioned the examples of testing available, it's really nice to know when you're not sure and you're in the phase of not feeling well, where you're not sure what the diagnosis is and certainly what to possibly anticipate. So being armed beforehand with the idea that you know that there are possibly some type of diagnostic tests down in your future, and also what the definition of those diagnostic tests means. I think that's really important. I know for myself in the past, doctors throw around words like endoscopy or CT and X-ray, and I sort of smile and nod as if I know what those mean. So I appreciate your taking the time to indicate on the PowerPoint presentation what those mean. And I really found it very inspirational that although there is not a cure, there are clearly not only effective treatments that Jackie pointed out, not only affected but varied and individual for person to person, but as Catherine, you brought up in the latter part of the webinar, that people can also be their own advocates. And again, I particularly liked that you didn't forget about the caregivers and what an enormous amount of support and life-saving tools they offer, just having the back of those that are struggling with such a diagnosis.
And Carla, can I just add one more
go
thing?
ahead, Jackie. Sure.
You know, we do get about 1,200 questions per month from patients and family members. We get questions via telephone, via email, via answer chat, and a lot of what we hear from our patients and caregivers is that, you know, the doctors provide them with the information, but they don't always have enough time to spend with the doctors to get detailed questions answered.
That's a good point.
Yeah, for example, a doctor might say to a patient, well, here's the medication that I want you to take, and, you know, come back and see me in 6 months. But patients often have follow-up questions regarding the medication that they're taking. So what we try to do in the health center is answer some of those questions. Now, we're not doctors or nurses, so we can't provide medical advice, but we can walk the patients through the package insert, for example, that has a lot of information about the medication risk and benefits. And sometimes patients don't know that they can look up those things on their own. So we do take the time, you know, to spend with them. We may spend 15 minutes with a patient. We may spend 45 minutes with a patient, but we try to answer those questions so that when they do go back to their doctors, they can be armed with some additional questions that weren't answered.
That is so important that you took the time to highlight those points, Jackie. Thank you for that, because I know that that is crucial. And again, I know with my own personal experience and family members that I've accompanied to doctor appointments, you walk away almost, you know, in a fog of information. It's very overwhelming to attempt to not only process it, but then begin to implement it. So the fact that you're there to assist people through what could be a challenging time, and the fact that you do it through myriad outlets. People can reach you via the web, via the phone, via chat, on a mobile device on their phone. So it gives people the opportunity to really reach out in a forum in which they are most comfortable. So
Carla,
thank you so much. And
I just have a couple of more tips. I just want to stress for particularly newly diagnosed patients that whenever possible, if they can take their caregiver or another family member with them so that that other family member can take some notes. Because oftentimes when you get a new diagnosis, once the doctor gives you that diagnosis, your mind is sometimes stuck on the diagnosis. So your other family member or caregiver or someone else that's with you can ask some questions as well. Also, particularly for newly diagnosed patients, we have something called our patient starter kit, and this basically says, now that you're diagnosed, these are some great steps to do next. So the one thing that we would really want to stress is that start a medical log or a journal. Anytime you have a question, write that question down in your journal. If the doctor has recommended some tests and you have the results, write the results in that journal. If you have a new medication, write down when you're taking it, the dosage and the frequency, because those things may change over time. And so every time you go to the doctor's office or call our organization or call an organization like NeedyMeds, you have your medical journal right there to write down your questions and answers. So I do want to stress to patients, please, just go to the 99-cent store, get a notebook, get a journal, and start keeping track of things.
Again, invaluable feedback and something that is really applicable. I know sometimes, again, you go to the doctor and they give you this grand list of things that really you don't know how to implement, or you don't think you're going to be able, because it seems overwhelming. So I appreciate that the tips that you're getting are things that people can really implement immediately and easily, or so it seems. So thank you for that, and thank you again for circling back to how important a caregiver's role or your support people in your life can be, even from the very beginning. So, of course, before we move on to the questions, I want to again thank both Jackie and Catherine for sharing their expertise on supporting people that have been diagnosed with this condition. And I, of course, want to point out that we also encourage you to turn to NeedyMeds for additional resources. Once you have been diagnosed and there are medications that the doctor feels you should be taking, we encourage you to contact NeedyMeds. And you could do that either through our website or our toll-free helpline. And let us know the list of medications, the dosage that you take, and we will do our best to see if there is a prescription assistance program or any cost savings program available to help you save some money on that medication. Another program which can help you save money are diagnosis-based assistance programs, and those are programs for costs associated with healthcare conditions or diagnoses, but aren't necessarily medication. For example, let's say we find you a cost-saving program for a medication that was prescribed, but how are you going to get to that facility, for example? Or let's say you need assistance with copay cards, or let's say you actually need help cleaning your house. Diagnosis-based assistance programs offer assistance for medical expenses that fall outside the need umbrella of medications. And of course, finally, we do offer the NeedyMeds drug discount card. We at NeedyMeds, we actually hope you don't need to use our drug discount card. Our hope, of course, is everybody is well insured and can cover their expenses on their own. If that's not a possibility, our first goal is to connect you with a program that will help you save money on that particular medication or healthcare need. And if we can't do that, we will then recommend using our drug discount card. Of course, I recommend a few things at this point. Calling our 800 number again, which is right there, getting in touch with me if you have questions. And also, when you check out our website, see if you can also participate in later webinars, which will include overviews on how you can find the resources you need on the NeedyMeds website. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and take a break just for a moment and give our audience a chance to send us questions. And again, you can type in the questions that you may have in the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel. As I indicated earlier, this webinar has been recorded. I don't see any questions coming in at this time, but please know you can feel free to send me questions at carla@needymeds.org if they're related to NeedyMeds, or you can go ahead and shoot a question to info@ccfa.org, or give them a call at the 888 number on the slide of your PowerPoint presentation. So I'll go ahead and wrap up the webinar, and as I said, I'll also be providing everybody that participated today with a copy of the PowerPoint slides. And we do very much look forward to keeping in touch with you and hope that you sign up for future webinars. Thank you again, Jackie and Catherine, for taking time out of your day. And also, I'll follow up with the both of you because my mind is working on how further NeedyMeds can partner with you guys. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, and have a wonderful afternoon. And everybody that's listening, we'll be in touch. Take care.
Bye-bye.